I remember the exact moment the fence died. Not broke, not failed, died. There's a difference, when you've lived with something long enough to understand its moods. The perimeter fence around Tartarus Prime wasn't just a structure, it was a presence. A low, humming thing that vibrated through the soil day and night, a constant bass note in the symphony of survival that played across this cursed rock. I was on rotation at observation post 7 when it happened. Third watch, which meant the twin suns were doing their lazy dance across the sky, painting everything in shades of angry orange and bruised purple. The kind of light that made you feel like you were already dead and just hadn't stopped moving yet. "Hey, Tanaka." My comm crackled. Commander Vex's voice, tinny and impatient as always. She hated Third Watch almost as much as I did, which was saying something, because I'd grown to hate everything about this assignment. "Yeah, Commander. Readings from the Eastern Sector. You seeing this?" I glanced at my console. The displays showed the usual chaos, atmospheric pressure swinging like a pendulum, seismic activity that would have flattened any normal world, and the constant, unending static of the planet's magnetic field doing things that made no sense to anyone who'd studied physics back in civilized space. But there was something else, a blip, faint but growing. "Energy fluctuation," I said. "Sector 14, near the old mining works." "Get a visual." I leaned forward, squinting at the external cameras. The feed was garbage. Dust storms had been kicking up for 3 days straight, reducing visibility to maybe 50 meters if you were generous. But through the haze, I could see it. The fence. It was shimmering, not the usual blue-white pulse of the containment field, but something darker, reddish, like blood mixing with water. "That's not right," I muttered. "Say again, Tanaka." "The fence, it's changing color. I've never." The console screamed. Not a warning tone, not an alert. A scream, high-pitched and terrible, the sound of a machine having a stroke. Every display in the post flickered, went black, then came back with symbols I didn't recognize. "What the hell is happening?" Vex's voice was sharp, but I could hear the fear underneath. The commander had been on Tartarus Prime for 12 standard years. She'd seen things that would break most people, but she'd never sounded like this. "Power surge," I said, fingers flying across the controls. "Massive. It's coming from the fence itself. I'm reading energy levels that..." The ground shook. Not the usual tremors. This was a convulsion. The observation post groaned around me, metal shrieking like a dying animal. I grabbed the edge of the console, knuckles white, as the world turned to jelly. "Tanaka, report." "I can't. The readings are off the scale. The fence is drawing power from somewhere and I don't know where. It's like it's..." I stopped. Because through the cameras, through the dust and the chaos and the screaming of every alarm on the planet, I saw the fence die. The shimmering stopped. The humming stopped. The light that had burned for 47 years, ever since humanity first set foot on this nightmare world, just went out. And then I heard it. Silence. Absolute, total, terrifying silence. For the first time in my life, I couldn't hear the fence. Couldn't feel it in my bones, that constant reminder that we were safe, that the things on the other side couldn't get to us. "It's gone," I whispered. "Commander, the fence is gone." Tartarus Prime was classified as a Deathworld. That's not a title humans give out lightly. We've been to a lot of places, places with acid rain, places with gravity that'll crush you flat, places where the native life forms consider humans to be walking snacks. But Tartarus Prime, it was something else entirely. The planet had been settled during humanity's second expansion wave, back when we still thought we could conquer anything. 100,000 colonists, full of hope and stupid optimism, landed on this rock thinking they'd found paradise. They were wrong. Within 6 months, 80% of them were dead. The survivors retreated to a single fortified city. New Hope, they called it, with the kind of bitter irony that only comes from watching everyone you love get ripped apart by things that shouldn't exist. And around that city, they built the fence. It wasn't just a wall. It was a field, a barrier of pure energy that nothing could cross. The scientists called it a quantum resonance barrier, which was their fancy way of saying, we don't fully understand it, but it works. For 47 years it worked. Until it didn't. The first hour after the collapse was chaos. Emergency protocols kicked in, but they were designed for failures, not for total system death. The backup generators hummed to life, but they couldn't power the entire fence. Just a fraction of it. A patchwork of protection around the city center, leaving the outer districts exposed. Evacuation order, Vex's voice came over the general comm. All personnel to the inner sanctum. I repeat, all personnel to the inner sanctum. But we both knew there was nowhere to go. The inner sanctum was a bunker, designed to hold the entire city population for maybe 72 hours. After that, we'd be suffocating in our own recycled air, waiting for rescue that would never come. Tartarus Prime was at the edge of human space. A distress call would take days to reach anyone and rescue. Months, if ever. I'm not leaving my post, I said. Tanaka, that's an order. Commander, with respect, the fence is down. If something comes through, I need to see it coming. We need early warning. There was a long pause on the other end. I could picture Vex, her jaw tight, weighing the options. She was a good commander despite everything. She'd kept us alive this long. Fine, but if you see anything at all, you get to the bunker. Understood. Understood. I settled back in my chair, watching the cameras. The dust storm was clearing, the winds finally dying down. The twin suns were setting, and for the first time in weeks, the sky was visible. That's when I saw them. The stars. But they weren't stars. They were too close, too bright, moving in patterns that made no sense. Hundreds of them, thousands, descending from the upper atmosphere like tears from heaven. What the? The console started screaming again, but this time I understood the readings. Ships, dozens of ships, no hundreds. I zoomed in on the nearest one, and my blood went cold. The design was all wrong. Too organic, too fluid, like something grown rather than built. And the markings on the hull, I'd seen those markings before. In history vids. In nightmares. Commander, we have incoming. Multiple contacts there. The ship opened fire. Not at the city. At the ground. At the dead fence, the fallen barrier, the thing that had protected us for nearly half a century. Commander, I think there. The weapon hit, and everything went white. The observation post was gone, not destroyed. There was no debris, no wreckage, just gone like it had never existed. I was lying on my back, staring up at a sky that was wrong. The colors were off, the light too harsh, and there were shapes moving in the distance, huge and terrible, casting shadows that seemed to eat the light. How am I alive? I said it out loud. Because talking to yourself is what you do when you've just watched your entire world get vaporized. It keeps you from screaming. Because they wanted you alive. The voice came from somewhere to my right. I turned my head slowly because everything hurt and saw a figure emerging from the haze. It was tall, 7 feet at least, with a build that suggested it could tear me apart without breaking a sweat. Its skin was pale, almost translucent, and its eyes were the color of dying embers. Who are you? I managed. An observer, the creature said. My people have been watching this world for a long time, watching the fence, watching you humans. You're the ones who attacked us. The creature made a sound that might have been a laugh. It was wet, bubbling like water boiling in a pot. Attacked, no. We freed you. Freed us? I pushed myself up, ignoring the screaming of my muscles. You killed everyone, you destroyed the city, you. The fence was a prison, the creature said, and there was something in its voice now, something almost like pity. You didn't know, you couldn't know. The fence wasn't keeping the creatures out, it was keeping them in. I stared at it, at the impossible, horrifying, utterly insane thing it had just said. That's not true. The fence was built to protect us. I read the history, I saw the records. The creatures attacked the colony and we built the fence to keep them away. The creature shook its head. The colony was never attacked. The colonists were the attack. They came here to a world that didn't belong to them and they tried to take it. The creatures, the natives, they defended themselves. But they were losing, so they did the only thing they could. It paused, looking at something in the distance. I followed its gaze and saw shapes moving in the shadows. Big shapes, dangerous shapes. They created the fence, the creature continued. Not to keep the natives out, but to keep themselves in. To protect the rest of the galaxy from what they'd become. I laughed, I couldn't help it. It was too insane, too impossible, too. Look at your hand, the creature said. I looked. My skin was wrong, pale, almost translucent. In my eyes, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in a piece of shattered metal, and I saw that my eyes were now the color of dying embers. What did you do to me? I whispered. We didn't do anything, the creature said. You did it to yourself, all of you. The fence was a resonance field. It affected everything inside it, the planet, the animals, the people. You're saying we were changed. All of you, every human on this planet. The fence altered your biology, made you stronger, harder, more resilient, but it also made you something else. Something else. The creature smiled. It was the most terrifying thing I'd ever seen. Something that belongs here, something that was always meant to be here. The creatures, the natives, I had to call them that now, they took me in. Not as a prisoner, but as something else. I didn't understand it at first. They fed me, gave me water, tended to my wounds, and all the while they watched me with those ember-colored eyes. You're different, one of them said. Her name was, I couldn't pronounce it. It sounded like stones rolling downhill. I called her Kale. Different how? The others, she said. The humans in the city, they didn't survive. Survive what? She pointed at the sky. The ships were still there, hanging in the atmosphere like dark clouds. The purification, she said. When the fence fell, we had to cleanse the land, remove what the field had created. You weren't created by the field. You were always like this. I shook my head. That doesn't make any sense. I was born human, on Earth. I came here as a colonist. I've been here for. How long? The question caught me off guard. I tried to remember, tried to count the years, the months, the days. I don't know, 5 years, maybe 6. Kale made that wet, bubbling sound again. Laughter. You've been here for 47 years, she said. Every human on this planet has been here for 47 years. The fence trapped you in a temporal field. You didn't age. You didn't change. You just existed. I don't believe you. Of course you don't, but look around you, look at the city. I looked. New Hope was gone. In its place was something else, a sprawling, organic structure that pulsed with a dark, terrible beauty. It was built from the bones of the dead fence, the remains of the city, the bodies of the colonists. But it wasn't just a structure, it was alive. I could feel it beating, a pulse that matched my own. What is this place? I whispered. Home, Kale said. The home you were always meant to find. I was exploring the ruins of what had once been the city center, trying to make sense of everything that had happened. The fences were gone. The buildings were gone. The people were gone. Everything was gone. Except the beasts. I saw them coming from a distance, a pack of the creatures that had haunted my nightmares for years. The things that had killed so many colonists, so many friends, so many. But they weren't attacking. They were watching. The largest one stepped forward. It was massive, easily 20 feet tall, covered in armor plates that seemed to shift and flow like living metal. Its eyes were the color of dying embers, just like mine. I should have run. I should have screamed. I should have done anything but stand there like an idiot, staring at the thing that had killed everyone I'd ever known. But I didn't, because in its eyes I saw something I recognized. Not hunger, not rage, not even curiosity. Recognition. "I know you," I said, and my voice came out strange, wrong, like it belonged to someone else. The beast lowered its head, and then, impossibly, it spoke. "You are Pack." The words weren't spoken aloud. They were in my head, deep and resonant, like a drumbeat in my skull. "You are Pack," it repeated. "You are one of us." What does that mean?" The beast's eyes flickered and I saw images, memories, a pack of these creatures hunting across a plain, a human caught in the middle fighting desperately, the human losing, the human dying. But then the human changed, transformed, became something like them. "You are Pack," the beast said again. "You always were Pack, the fence kept you from us, but now—" "The fence is gone," I whispered. "Yes. And you want me to. Come home." I looked at the beast, at the pack behind it, at the ruins of everything I'd ever known. And then I walked forward. I'd never killed anything before. Not really. I'd been a technician, a watcher, a keeper of the fence. I'd never had to fight for my survival. But the pack didn't give me a choice. "There is prey," the alpha said. Its name was, I couldn't pronounce it. I called him Vorn. "We hunt, you hunt." "I don't, I can't." "You can, you will, you are Pack." The prey was a massive creature, some kind of herbivore with 6 legs and a shell that could withstand plasma fire. It was the kind of thing that had once been a legend, a nightmare, a story to tell children around the campfire. But to the pack it was dinner. I watched them work. The way they moved together, coordinated, perfect. They didn't need words. They didn't need signals. They just knew. And somehow, impossibly, I knew too. When the creature charged, I didn't run. I moved. Not away, but toward. My body didn't feel like mine anymore. It was faster, stronger, more responsive than it had ever been. I leaped onto the creature's back, my hands finding purchase on its shell. I pulled myself up, ignoring the pain, ignoring the fear, ignoring everything but the hunt. And then I struck. I didn't have a weapon. I didn't need one. My hands had changed. Fingers that ended in claws, tips that could cut through armor like paper. I drove them into the creature's neck, and I felt the life drain out of it. When it fell, I fell with it. Landed in the mud, covered in blood, shaking with exhaustion and adrenaline and something else. Joy. I had killed, and I was happy about it. "Oh God," I whispered, "what am I becoming?" But Vorn was there, nudging me with his massive head. "Pack," he said, "you are Pack." And for the first time since the fence fell, I believed it. I learned the Pack's ways, their rituals, their language, which wasn't really a language at all, but a series of images and emotions transmitted directly from mind to mind. I learned to hunt, to fight, to survive. And slowly, terribly, I began to forget. I forgot my name. I forgot Earth. I forgot what it meant to be human. But I didn't forget everything. Sometimes, late at night, when the twin moons were high in the sky, I would look up at the stars and remember. Remember the fence. Remember the city. Remember the face of a woman I'd loved, a woman who died when the fence fell. And I would weep. Vorn found me like that one night. He sat beside me, his massive body blocking out the light, and he didn't speak. I spoke instead. "I don't want to forget," I said. "I can't forget. If I forget, then what? Then it's all been for nothing. The people, the city, everything we built. If I forget, it never existed." Vorn was silent for a long moment. Then, "Do you remember the fence?" "Yes." Do you remember why it was built? I thought about it, the history vids, the records, the stories we'd told ourselves to survive. We built it to protect ourselves, I said. From you, from the creatures, from the world. Yes, Vorn said, and did it work? I laughed. It was a bitter sound, cracked and wrong. No, it didn't work, it just trapped us, made us into something else. Something like us. Something like you, I agreed. Then why, Vorn said, do you still think of yourself as human? I opened my mouth to answer, but the words wouldn't come. Because I didn't know. Was I still human? My body had changed. My mind had changed. I could speak to the pack without words, could hunt with them, could kill with them. But I still remembered. I still remembered the woman I'd loved, the friends I'd lost, the city I'd called home. Maybe, I said slowly, being human isn't about what you are. Maybe it's about what you remember. Vorn made a sound, not the wet, bubbling laughter, but something deeper, respect. Then you are more human than the humans who built the fence, he said. They chose to forget. They chose to pretend they were still the same people who landed on this planet. They thought it would protect them. They were wrong, and they died for it. We sat in silence for a long time. The twin moons crept across the sky, and the stars wheeled overhead, and I thought about everything I'd lost and everything I'd gained. Vorn, I said finally, what happens now? What do you mean? The pack, the planet, what happens to all of us? Vorn was quiet for a moment. Then, we survive, we grow, we become what we were always meant to become. And what's that? Pack strong, united, alive. I nodded. It was a simple answer, but it was the only one that made sense. Okay, I said, then that's what we'll do. I was out hunting with the pack when I saw them, a cloud of lights descending from the sky, bigger than anything I'd ever seen. Vorn stopped, his head tilted, and I felt the question in his mind. What is that? I don't know, I said. I've never. The ships landed. They were massive, kilometers long, and they disgorged soldiers by the thousands. Not human. I could tell that from the distance, their shapes wrong, their armor too bulky, their weapons too large. Galactic soldiers, I said, the words coming out in a whisper. I've seen them before, in history vids. They exterminate species, they take planets. They will not take this one. Vorn's voice was iron. This world is ours. Vorn, wait. But it was too late. The pack was already moving, hundreds of us pouring out of the woods like a tide of living metal. The soldiers saw us coming, and they raised their weapons. And then everything went to hell. I don't remember most of the battle, just fragments. A soldier firing, the beam passing inches from my head. A packmate falling, his life fading from his eyes. The smell of burning flesh and ozone and blood. But I remember the moment I turned the tide. I was pinned down behind a rock, surrounded by soldiers when I saw them. My packmates, the ones who'd survived, fighting desperately to reach me. But they couldn't. The soldiers' weapons were too powerful, their armor too thick. So I did the only thing I could. I stood up. A soldier aimed at me, his weapon humming with deadly power. I looked him in the eye, not that he had eyes, just a blank visor, and I smiled. Come on, I said, come and get me. He fired. And I caught the beam. I don't know how I did it. I just knew that I could. The energy flowed into me, filling me with warmth, with power, with something that felt almost like joy. The soldier stopped firing. His companions stopped firing. They all just stared at me, their weapons lowering in confusion. What are you? One of them said. The voice was translated mechanical, but I could hear the fear underneath. I'm Pack, I said, and you're trespassing. I threw the energy back at them. See? Not dead, I'd been careful not to kill them, just gone. Their ships had lifted off, fleeing the planet like it was on fire. And maybe it was. The pack gathered around me, and I felt their awe, their confusion, their dawning understanding. "You are more than pack," Vorn said. "You are something else." "No," I said, "I'm just human, or what's left of one." But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't true. The thing that had caught that energy beam wasn't human. The thing that had thrown it back wasn't human. The thing that had led the pack to victory wasn't human. It was something else, something new. "Maybe," I said, "maybe that's okay." "Yes," Vorn said, "maybe it is." The old territory was compromised. Too many soldiers, too much destruction. The pack needed somewhere safe, somewhere the galactic ships couldn't find us. I led them. I don't know why I took charge. I just knew that I could. My mind had changed, expanded, become something more than it had ever been before. I could feel the pack's needs, their fears, their hopes. I knew where to go, how to get there, what to avoid. It was like being part of a single living thing. We found a valley in the mountains, hidden by cliffs and mist. The soil was rich, the water clean, the prey abundant. It was perfect. "This is home," I said. "This is where we build." "Build?" Vorn asked. "We are not builders, we are hunters." "We're both now, we have to be." I thought about the human city I'd left behind. The way it had been built, layer upon layer, a monument to human ingenuity and stubbornness. We could do that. We could build something better. "Come on," I said, "I'll show you how." It was crude, just a wall of stone and packed earth, but it was a start, a sign that the pack was becoming something more than just hunters. We built homes, storage pits, defensive positions. We learned to work together, to coordinate our efforts, to share our skills. And I learned something else. I could talk to the pack, not just their minds but their hearts. I could feel what they felt, understand what they understood. We were becoming more than a pack. We were becoming a community. A civilization. "It's beautiful," I said one night. We were standing on the wall looking out at the valley. The twin moons were full, casting silver light over everything. "Yes," Vorn agreed, "but what is it?" "I don't understand. What is the purpose of this place? We were hunters, now we are something else, but what?" I thought about it, about everything we'd been through, everything we'd lost, everything we'd gained. "We're survivors," I said. "That's what we are. We're the ones who made it when everything else fell apart. And now we're the ones who will make sure it never happens again." They came in force this time, not just a few ships but a fleet. Hundreds of vessels darkening the sky, blotting out the stars. "Ground troops," I said, watching them descend. "At least 100,000, maybe more." "We cannot fight them," Vorn said. "We are too few." "I know." "Then what do we do?" I smiled. It was a terrible smile, full of teeth and death. "We give them what they want." They formed a perimeter around me, weapons trained on my chest. I could see their faces now, not visors but actual faces. They were aliens, all of them, with skin like stone and eyes like jewels. "The human," one of them said, "the one who destroyed our advance force." "I didn't destroy them," I said. "I drove them off." "There's a difference." "Not to us." The soldier raised its weapon. I could feel the energy building in its core, the threat of death hanging in the air. "Wait," I said. "Before you kill me, let me tell you something." "Your last words." "My words of warning." The soldier paused. Its jewel-like eyes flickered with something that might have been curiosity. "Speak," it said. "You came here to destroy us," I said, "to purge this world of the creatures that live on it, but you don't understand what you're dealing with. Enlighten us." "This world isn't a death world because of what's on it," I said. "It's a death world because of what's in it, the soil, the air, the water. It changes things, alters them, makes them stronger, harder, more resilient." "Irrelevant. We are immune to such." "Are you?" I pointed at the soldiers. "Look at your hands." They looked, and I saw the horror dawn in their eyes. Their skin was changing, paler, thinner, more translucent, like mine had changed all those years ago. "What have you done?" the soldier whispered. "I didn't do anything," I said. "The planet did. It's been doing it since you landed, and it won't stop until you become like us." "Like you, a monster." I laughed. "No," I said, "like me, a survivor." They couldn't. The planet had them now, had sunk its hooks into their bodies and minds, and there was nothing they could do to escape. But they didn't attack again. Instead, they came to me, their pride broken, their fear palpable. "Help us," they said. "Please, we don't want to become this." I looked at them, at the fear in their eyes, the desperation in their voices. And I remembered. I remembered the fence, and the people who'd built it, and the way they'd tried to hide from the truth. I remembered the pack, and the way they'd accepted me despite everything. "You have a choice," I said. "You can fight this. Try to hold on to what you were. It will be painful and it will be futile, but you can try. Or you can accept what you're becoming, and you can become part of something greater than yourself." "Part of what?" I smiled. "Part of the pack." They were so different from us, so set in their ways. They had hierarchies, rules, traditions, things that meant nothing to the pack. But slowly they adapted. They learned to hunt with us, to fight with us, to live with us. They became packmates just like the rest of us, bound by blood and struggle and survival. And I became something more. Not a leader, I'd never wanted that. Not a king, not a general, not a ruler. Just a pack. A part of something bigger than myself. Because the past was gone, and the future was here. And the future looked like the valley. Green, alive, full of packmates of all shapes and sizes working together to build something new, something better, something that would last. "You're thinking about them again," Vorn said. "The old ones." I nodded. "Sometimes I can't help it, I remember." "I know, I remember too." Vorn's voice was soft, almost gentle, "but you have to let them go. They were pack, but they're gone now, and we are here." "Pack," I said. "We are pack." "Yes, and the pack lives on." Not a galactic soldier ship, something smaller, sleeker, more advanced. It landed on the valley floor, and a being stepped out that I recognized. It was the creature from the fence collapse, the observer. "You survived," it said. I laughed. "You sound surprised." "I am. The pack hasn't accepted an outsider in." "I'm not an outsider," I said. "I never was." The observer looked at me. Its ember-colored eyes flickered, and I saw something like wonder in them. "You really believe that?" "I know it. The pack is my home, my family, my life." "Even though you were human?" "Especially because I was human," I said. "Being human means remembering, and remembering means I understand what we lost. But it also means I understand what we have now." The observer was silent for a long moment. "Then I was wrong," it said finally. "I thought the fence was a prison. I thought it trapped you, made you something you weren't meant to be. It did, but it also taught us something." "What?" "That survival isn't about what you are," I said. "It's about who you choose to become." The observer nodded slowly. "I think," it said, "that I've learned something today, something I didn't expect." "And what's that?" "The human race isn't gone, it's just different now." I smiled. "Yes, it is." "And you're okay with that?" I looked out at the valley, at the packmates working together, building their homes, living their lives. At the children, human and alien and everything in between, playing in the fields. "No," I said, "I'm not okay with it." The observer blinked. "Then why?" "Because okay isn't good enough," I said. "I'm proud of it." And I grew old. Not the way humans grew old. That was a thing of the past, a relic of a life that no longer existed. But I could feel the years piling up, the weight of all I'd seen and done. Pack leader, Vorn said one day, "You're troubled." "No," I said, "I'm not troubled, I'm thinking." "About what?" "About legacy, about what we're leaving behind." Vorn made the bubbling sound that meant he was amused. "You worry too much. The pack will remember you. They'll remember the human who became pack. They'll remember the one who showed them what it means to survive." I smiled. "I guess that's enough." "It's everything." They surrounded me in a circle, their heads bowed, their minds silent. Even the soldiers, the ones who'd become packmates, were there, their jewel-like eyes filled with grief. "Is it time?" I asked. "Yes," Vorn said, "it's time." "Good, I'm tired." "We know." "Will you remember me?" "Always," Vorn said. "You are pack. You will always be pack." I closed my eyes. And I let go.